Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you only on Grande's Graveyard. And yes, ladies and gents, I know it was a small little delay, so I do apologize for that. StreamYard decided to take a monkey shit on the floor right before I went live here. I swear to you, it was 8:04. I had that go live button ready, and then all of a sudden it just took the monkiest of monkey shits on my floor. I had to clean up bananas and bugs and all these horrible things. But tonight's the topic of the evening, if we can move on from the fecal talk. Yes, tonight on Grande's Graveyard, we will be discussing the Folk Horror Special number 2. Yes, the Folk Horror Special number 2. I'm very excited here tonight to discuss not one, not two, not three, but 4 wonderful folk horror films, all 4 from different countries, of course. Tonight will be representing Ireland. We will be representing Austria, if I can fucking speak. I added an L in there. It just changes the country completely. Austria. We got the US of A, the old United States of America. And then, of course, lastly, but not leastly, Soviet Union, a.k.a. Russia. So very excited here tonight. Of course, talking 4 different folk horror movies from 4 different countries. And I'm very excited to get into them all because I was quite enjoying show prep this week. I thought this was a very good week overall for show prep. And I honestly, I was debating adding another movie at the last hour. I was like, it would be so cool to do like something like Deadly Blessing or something like that. At the last hour, I was thinking about it, but didn't end up having the time for it. That we'll have to save that one for the folk horror special number 3, if you will. And I know the first folk horror special was quite some time ago. You're talking 2-3 years. So it's been a while. This is a sequel that's long in the waiting, and I hope it could deliver here tonight on Grande's Graveyard as we discuss these films. So, of course, we had to check the chat. Miss C is here. Ciao, Grande Graveyardian friends. Welcome, Miss C. Hope all is well with you. Happy Thursday/Graveyard Day. Haddonfield mascot's in the house. What's up, everyone? Ready to hear about some folk horror? John is in the heezy, the Haddonfield mascot himself. Welcome, John. Hope all is well with you. And yes, I am very excited to be discussing some folk horror myself, so this is going to be a lot of fun. We got Anthony Chabot does pop cultures and opening in the heezy. Yo, buddy, I'm still up to 2015 in my memoirs, and tomorrow is my final day of training. Well, I hope you nail that final day of training and have an even better weekend, my friend. Hope all is well with you, Anthony. We got Joe Mama in the house. Yo, Joe Mama, what's shaking, buddy? I hope all is well with you. I'm ready to talk some folk horror tonight. I don't know about you, but I am ready. Ciao Grande. Of the movies of tonight, I only saw Eyes of Fire decades ago and in Italian. Love the setup and wasn't that bad. Hi to the whole graveyard. Matteo Appendino, ciao, my friend. Me and Matteo were discussing a show topic that is behind the scenes and super top secret for all of you. That's why it's so top secret. I'm mentioning it right now. But welcome, Matteo. Hope all is well with you, man. As I've frozen here on my end really briefly, but I guess I'm back now. He has to play a flute and perform a sun ritual to unfreeze his computer. Yeah, no, that might have worked. I don't know. Maybe I just should have sacrificed myself to the Wicker Tree or the Wicker Man. I don't know. The Wicker Tree is don't anybody ever watch the Wicker Tree. You want to talk about a bad movie? Holy shit. The Wicker Tree. That's just a movie that should never have existed. But of course, like I said, we're talking about 4 horror movies tonight, 4 folk horror movies. I'm a big fan of the subgenre of folk horror. And I had been waiting over the years. I was like, man, I really want to try to get some new ones in there. And thus, in that vein, we have 2 brand new ones, at least in my opinion. We have one from 2023, of course, All You Need Is Death, from Ireland. Of course, we also have one that came out just last year, a movie that was actually submitted to the Academy Awards and did not get accepted. However, it is from fantastic filmmakers Severin Fiala and Veronica Franz, who have made some of my favorite horror movies of the past 10-15 years, of course, in The Lodge and, of course, in Goodnight Mommy. And this is their effort from 2024, The Devil's Bath. That's the Austria one, not the Australian one, if I could speak here. And then, of course, we have two oldies but goodies. Of course, V from 1967. I said I was not going to do that, and I did it anyway. V from 1967, of course, a Soviet Union Russian film, which is one of the innovators and pioneers of the whole subgenre of folk horror. And then, of course, Eyes of Fire from 1983, which was the American joint of the bunch. So I am very excited here tonight on Grande's Graveyard to discuss all these bad boys. Sub Grande, Peacemaker Season 2 is tonight. Absolutely, I'm very honored to share a night of course, a premiere day for a show like that. James Gunn is on the ball right now, and very excited to see what he has in store for us. So welcome, Brett, and I hope all is well with you. And I say we get the show right on the goddamn road. I say we start this son of a bitch off hot. I say we start this show off with the newest movie that, of course, of these four you can watch. And of course, this is one that came out, like I said, just last year in 2024. I'm talking about this little joint here from, of course, Severin Fiala and Veronica Franz. I'm talking about The Devil's Bath. And we have a brief plot synopsis here. In 18th century Austria, Agnes is a hard-working woman with a blossoming upstart life. However, when her husband shows her no attention and the lack of love begins to drive her into a deep state of melancholia. As evil thoughts arise within her, Agnes enters the Devil's Bath. Yes, hence our title. I would share the screen, but I don't want to tempt fate after this thing shit itself, so I might not do it. I don't know. Maybe we'll try it later when we get more daring, if you will. But The Devil's Bath from 2024. This was one I was super looking forward to seeing because, like I said, I'm a huge fan of Severin and Veronica's films, respectively. I mean, I remember going to New York City my first semester of college. I went to New York City to see a critic screening of one of their first features, of course, called Good Night Mommy, which was a really good directorial effort. And I was like, whatever they make next, I will absolutely be there to support it in the movie theater. And of course, that little movie that was a few years down the road, I believe 5 or 6 years later, which was The Lodge. And I saw that in early 2020, right before COVID had turned and shut the world down. And I was blown away by that. That was my favorite horror movie of that year. I've gotten a lot of flack for it, but I always felt that was a really good horror film in and of itself. And thus, when I heard about them making a folk horror movie, The Devil's Bath, it's getting, of course, submitted to the Oscars. Oh my God, my expectations, they were through the ceiling. Most times I walk into a movie theater, they're lower than the floor. But however, with this one, I mean, it was higher than the goddamn roof on the building. And my expectations, while I didn't get the movie I expected I was going to get, I wouldn't be a, horror fan if I didn't tell you that this is something you should absolutely watch. Now, however, there are some caveats with that, and we'll get into the film itself. Of course, this stars a really, really talented actress here, and I want to get her name right here. Anya Plastig. I don't know if I'm 100% pronouncing that right, but Anya does a really, really good job here. She's been in several different Austrian films. And she plays this lead, Agnes. And the film opens up where we see this other woman unrelated to the plot, seemingly, in the movie. She is working on the river and she's doing her society duties. And she's holding her baby in the river. And you see that she just looks sad. She looks a little defeated. And she takes a walk all the way up this mountain and actually does this crazy thing where she drops her child down the river. And you see this baby flow all the way down the river to its death. And you're like, holy shit, that is a wild opening. And we see this woman turn herself in, and they, of course, absolve her of her sin, and then she is brutally murdered by the society. And then we follow out Agnes. I mean, it's quite a hook. It's quite a holy shit opening to your film. And then, of course, we're following Agnes, who, on paper, everything seems like it's going good. She's a hard worker. She's an attractive woman. Everyone in the town and the society and her family like her. She's getting married to this man. And we watch as the wedding ceremony takes place and everyone's happy. Everyone's drinking and laughing and playing music. And we see all of these Austrian wedding traditions, of course, of the 18th centuries. And I love this. I thought I was immediately just dropped into this world. I was so pleased with how they presented this world on paper because I thought it was so accurate and just really, really well done from the directors here. I just felt like I'm in the 18th century Austria right now. Like, it was a beautiful world they created. And the look of this film, the scope, is truly breathtaking. We have these great old school filmmakers here shooting on 35 millimeter. And man, being a film nerd that I am, and the whole world of digital filmmaking that we watch now. And I know there's some people that claim digital is better. Hell, I shot my short on digital. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say, no, digital is sacrilegious, blah, 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 rah, rah. I'm not going to try to be that guy. However, I do appreciate when it's done the way it used to be. I am someone who, on paper, I like things the way they were. That's just John Grande in a nutshell. And man, to see them bring this 35 millimeter look, vibe, feel, and I guess overall scope to this picture, I mean, I was just in awe. I thought the thing looked fantastic. We watch as she gets married. She moves into her brand new expensive home and all seems hunky-dory until it's not. All of a sudden, we watch this woman, this like I said, seemed like an upstart, seemed like she had a glow, a youthful glow to her. We watch as she slowly but surely succumbs to not a demon, not a parasite, but she succumbs to the devil's bath, which is, of course, the title of the movie. And this, I think, is, of course, an old saying of when someone would enter a state of melancholia, or aka in our language, depression. This is a movie about a woman who truly falls into a depressed state and slowly but surely loses herself along the way. And man, I thought this was so deep and so effective in telling that story. This is not your classic overt horror movie. This is not even your classic overt folk horror movie. You don't see all that much of the supernatural or paranormal. However, we watch a woman go from the top of her life, the crescendo, the peak, and we watch her crumble like a cookie over the next 2 hours as this movie plays out. It's truly disturbing. And I tell you, while I recommend this movie, if you are having a bad day, or if you are not in a happy state of mind when you do hit the play button, you will get depressed by this movie. This is a sad film from start to begin, from beginning to end, and man, it really does not pull any punches. For example, we see our lead. She's in bed one night with her husband. It's the first night in the new house, and they're getting ready for bed, and you think on paper, well, yeah, they're probably going to want to have some sex, right? It's an exciting time. They're newlyweds. They have their new house. It's well, what better time to have some sex? And of course, what happens is she takes her pants off and she's like ready for it, and her husband just starts to pleasure himself. He will not touch her. And she wakes up in the middle of the night. He's gone, and sees that he's kind of gone to another side of town where they're having this big festival. And she sees that he's talking with another man, and they're complimenting each other on how they look and talking to each other about how handsome the other is. And she, I think in that moment, realizes, oh my God, he won't touch me. We just got married. I love this guy, yet he may not be straight. He's gay. And her sorrow when that happens is really sad. Yet she attempts nightly to try to get him to have sex with her. She's like, tries it again, and he just turns the other cheek. Every single time she tries to come on to him or have any, I guess, admirable moment, a moment of passion, if you will, he just turns the other cheek to her, and her depression starts to snowball from there. Of course, this is, I think, a story and a tale of a woman that wants to be desired, that wants normalcy. I want to have this husband that loves me and shows me physically every now and again. She wants to have a child. She mentions over and over again how she wants to be this mother. And we watch her as she's trying to prove herself in the society even more. I'm a hard worker, but I'm going to be the best worker. She gets up early in the morning and tries to do all these, things for the village, and she ends up getting stuck in the mud, and her husband has to come her out, and he's like, what the hell, you're embarrassing me, like, what are you doing? We watch this woman, she's just trying to please everyone, trying to be the best Agnes for the world that she can be, and of course she starts to lose herself in that. And I think that while it's not overt horror, while it's nothing too flashy, I think there is quite a bit of horror in this. And I think that Severin and Veronica respectively, I think this is a big we grew up film. I love Goodnight Mommy. I love The Lodge. I think both of those films are very much more talking about the psychology of a child when something goes wrong, right? One, of course, Goodnight Mommy, one brother loses the other, and he goes crazy and cannot accept the loss of said brother. Thus, he goes fucking apeshit and ends up burning his mother alive. The Lodge, two children that their mother, of course, takes her own life, Alicia Silverstone, and then they are just kind of put out in the middle of the winter in the wilderness with this woman that has this checkered past, and they steal her meds from her, and all hell breaks loose there. This is a much more mature theme at adulthood, and when it does not go the way that we plan it on paper, and there is horror in that. I know it may not be overt, like as I say, but I think it's so effective. This is a sad film as we watch this woman's slow, gradual descent into not madness, but sadness. This is a sad picture all the way around. And we watch this woman as after she tried to prove herself, she'll go out into the middle of the forest and she takes a twig, sticks it on her tongue and starts cutting up her tongue beyond repair. She won't get out of bed. She's like completely just no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a part of this. They take her to the doctor and they try all these treatments to try to fix her or get her out of the bath. And there's this very disturbing sequence where they take a blade of her hair and they kind of put it through the back of her head to sort of try to fix her and have all the poisons of her mind be oozed out that way. These are some of the weird things they tried in the folk times. I love that. I think that was so cool and accurate. And of course, it really was an accurate depiction of what was going on in Austria, of course, at this time of the folk times. And I thought that world, like I said, is just built so good. And you watch these people as they're trying to get her out of it, but you just know that there's not. This is a woman that all she wanted was normalcy, yet at the end of the day, she was never going to get it because things happen. That's how life is sometimes. Sometimes it's not going to play out the way you want. And man, the performances in this, the sadness I felt, the emotion that it makes you feel throughout, it's really, really something else. I think this is great. And I think all the actors do a really good job. A lot of these people, honestly, I'm not as familiar with, but I mean, I thought this was a really good movie. And I've heard people say it's more of a psychological drama and that it would fit in a lot with A24 movies. I don't deny that. It is definitely at times more of a psychological drama, but I do think that just because the overt themes aren't there does not make this a damn good folk horror movie. And like I said, they show you the society really well, the actors, the performances, the scope. I just think Severin Fiala and Veronica Franz have grown into their own. This is the grow up. Like, we are real fucking filmmakers now, and we can play with the best of them. We could have got accepted to the Academy Awards. Like, that's really, really cool and inspiring. And as a film fan of someone who's watched their work for over 10 years since Goodnight Mommy, I'm just really happy to see that for them. And I thought this was really, really good movie. It's not entertaining by no means. This is a dark, weary. I mean, this is the opposite of entertaining. You're just really watching somebody go off the rail. But man, they do it in such a way that I think there's just such good storytelling here and good character work of a woman that we see start from the top and ultimately end up at the bottom. And I think another thing before I get to comments, I like how they tied everything back in from the beginning, right? We see this woman that seems completely unrelated to everything, drop her baby in the water. And we wonder to ourselves, well, why would she do that? Here's another woman that we don't get much context on. She just did what she did, killed her infant child. That's a horrible thing to do. We don't know what she was going through. Maybe, just maybe, she was in the devil's bath. And maybe, just maybe, she wanted a way out of it all. And of course, that was her way out because, of course, in this world, in this society, you're better off being a child murderer than you are of someone to take yourself, because they'll absolve you of your sins before you're killed. However, if you take your own, you're not absolved. You'll go to hell. And the idea is, I'll kill one kid and I get to live happily ever after in the afterlife in heaven. I don't have to live this horrible life and work every day in and day out, not be loved or appreciated by my significant other and be talked to like shit. I mean, it's really deep and how they do all that. And we see our lead character, she gets to that state. She gets to the state of, she's walking around one day. She asked a young boy for directions and she says, hey, could you walk with me? And of course the kid starts walking with her, and out of nowhere, she takes a stick and stabs him in the throat. And the kid's gasping, I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. And she looks at the kid and she's like, I know you did nothing wrong, honey. You're just going to die without sin and I'm going to be absolved. And you see, that was her grand plan. She just wanted to take somebody's life because she didn't want to live and swim in the devil's bath any longer. Horror done right to me, man. That's just it really, it's a lost art. These two are old school. I really do appreciate their work. And like I say, I am a man of my word. Whatever the next Veronica Franz and Severin Viale, whatever their next film is, I mean, fuck, please give me more, because their stuff is tremendous. I definitely want to get to comments though. Sorry about that. Where were we? I think we were right here. Added you on IG. Thank you so much. I have seen Superman. Yes, I thought Superman was an okay picture. I gave it like a 5.5. I don't know. And then Weapons. Yeah, I saw you liked Weapons. You're going to be 42 soon, man. Dude, absolutely. Happy birthday early. Slash Afraid the movie Get Out is definitely a folk horror movie. Okay. The plot you were talking about where the woman drops her child into the river is definitely a take on the classic Bible story of Moses. Sure. And it's funny, like, well, it's not funny. It's the opposite of funny, but it's the third time or more I've seen that. I mean, immediately fucking the Masters of Horror episode jumped into my mind. Imprint from Takashi Miike, and then also Dario from Mother of Tears jumped into my mind. I was like, all right, am I desensitized? This is the umpteenth time I've seen this happen now. Tom is here. She started out so happy and hopeful, then the oppressive sadness builds and the atmosphere gets so dark. Love the feel of this one. Tom, yeah, I'm in the same boat. I appreciated this so much. I thought this was such a different type of film. I didn't think I was getting this type of film walking in. I thought straight up folk horror and something to deal with kids because, of course, of the previous director's work. So I was thinking, okay, how are we going to tie this in? But it opens up with okay. I thought I was right along line with it. And then they hit me with a left when I thought I was going to get the proverbial right. And I was so happy with that. I was like, oh, cool. This is something completely other than what I expected, but in a good way. So I don't know. I agree with you. I loved the feel as well. I thought this thing was just really dripping with that atmosphere. I'd agree with you. And again, didn't have to go to the whole, oh, is she possessed? Is she seeing things? No, she's seeing clearly. She just doesn't like what she sees. And that's true horror. That's horror 101. That's horror that I'm sure anybody and everybody that's ever felt depressed, which we're only human, have gone through stuff like this. Maybe not to this degree, hopefully not to this degree, but I mean, we're only human, right? I mean, it's the sick thing about it. Dominic St. Clair, DSC is in the heezy. What's going on, Dominic? Hope all is well with you. Mateo is here. Sounds interesting. Do you think that a time period helps with the folk story? I think it helps a lot with the folk story because in between all of this, we do see a lot of their day in and day out lives, right? They get the time period right. They get the work that they're doing, catching fish and all this stuff. I know some people probably do not like that. That's the proverbial fat on the picture. And yeah, it's there. It's there in spades. If you're someone who's easily bored, you will fucking hate this. I guarantee you'll turn it off in 20 minutes. It's not for everybody. This is definitely an acquired taste. And even so, for someone who loves movies like this, I could say it's even an acquired taste because, again, it's just not overt with themes. It's really just a depressing watch. This is not one that I would watch more than The Lodge and Goodnight Mommy, but at the same time, I think it's more accomplished than those films at the same time. It's weird. It's so weird because I think the other two are more entertaining and I could watch them over more. However, this one, man, if I was in a bad mood, this is one of the last movies I would grab for because this is a real tearjerker. Ryan Hanley's in the house. What's up, Graveyard? What's up, Ryan? Hope all is well with you. Probably one I'd pass on. I'm not too into sad, depressing films, and I don't blame you. It's like I said, it is not for everybody. I do not know in the way you review films, and I know you post your letterbox stuff all the time. I don't think you would like this at all. I don't. I do think there are those that will, but I do not think you'd be in that camp. I think this would be more. One of the classic folk horror stories is The Crucible. Of course, we read that one in high school, actually, The Crucible. That's funny you mentioned that one. That's a good one. We got Kubrick Lover in the house saying hi to everyone. Welcome, Kubrick. Hope all is well with you. People saying hi. F Superman and his super dog. No, man, it was bad. Very good, Luther. I thought it was middle of the road. I mean, for me, what it did right, but it did some things really wrong. Like the lady playing Lois Lane was torture. I couldn't stand her at all. I thought the guy they had playing Lex Luthor, Nicholas Hoult, did a good job, but I didn't really like the Lex Luthor they had him play, if that makes any sense. Like the whiny Kylo Ren Luthor. And granted, as much as Kevin Spacey's a piece of shit, that to me is Lex Luthor. Like the way he played that as this scumbag, maybe because he's a scumbag in real life, it works well when it's adapted to the screen. That's why his Lex Luthor worked better for me. They got the little things right. Superman's vulnerability, right? Because this is a character that's so overpowered and so strong and literally needs a kryptonite to be defeated. This is a movie where Superman's on his ass a lot of the time. And I think that was the smartest thing you did because you added a vulnerability factor that was no longer there in any of the other movies. So that was the smart thing. The stuff that doesn't work, the fucking humor, the James Gunn, I think added a little too much of himself in it. I don't know. It's a middle of the road. It's better than what DC's been doing, but at the same time, for that character, I don't know if it worked. I don't know if I would give it an F. I would say it's like a middle of the road 5.5 film. I don't think it's the worst movie I've ever seen. I really don't. But yeah, not anything great either. Very, very mid. The very ending was also great. Yeah, no, the very ending when, well, I don't want to fucking, I've spoiled enough of this thing, but I don't know. I agree with you. I'll just leave it at that. The beginning of The Lodge came close to feeling of this one. Yeah, no, it definitely, and I know you're not a fan of The Lodge, but I'm happy that you liked this work from them, which means that at least they're improving in the eyes of someone who was not a fan of their previous movie. Like, that's really cool to me. Like, I agree with you. I do think this is in a lot of ways a more accomplished picture. It's just not as entertaining to me, which is, obviously the effect. It's doing what it's setting out to do, right? To depress you and make you sad and all these things. But that is The Devil's Bath. I really, really recommend this one, man. I think this is a banger. I think people need to see this. I totally think more people need to see this for sure. But let's go. I guess we'll work in reverse chronology, I guess, or I don't know. Maybe we'll just go to the oldest one first. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go to the oldest one first. Of course, this is a movie that came out in 1967 from our good friends over in the Soviet Union, of course, Russia. And they had, of course, a trio of directors come together to adapt a Soviet folktale that was ages old as time. And they wanted to adapt this. They didn't have much money, of course. I think I did the calculation. I don't think they even had 10 grand of what our dollars would be equal to today. Like it was a very low budget picture, but man, it goes to show you what can be done with imagination and what can be done with ambition when you do have your head screwed on right and when you're really going for the best aspects possible about this genre. And this is, of course, from 1967. I'm talking about V. V from 1967. Brief plot synopsis. A young priest is ordered to preside over the wake of a witch in a small old wooden church of a remote village. This means spending 3 nights alone with the corpse with only his faith to protect him. Yes, of course, V. Now, like I said, this is a low budget picture, and I know this is a movie that at the time was not a one to garner that much of a following or anything like that. However, over time, it has garnered a very big cult following for some of its visuals, for its ambition, and I think this is the beauty of this film too. It does horror perfect. This is a movie that does horror justice. Like, this is one of the movies, if someone said, hey, why are you proud to be a fan of this? I would point to something like V. I think V is just a perfect example as to why I love this genre as a whole. And getting into the plot, of course, it opens up with these kids getting out of school. They're older, right? They're like 20s, like, and it's like priest school. They're going to school to be a priest. And they decide to walk home. And of course, it gets dark outside and they only see the moonlight. And of course, they're getting scared. They're lost. They're afraid. They're nervous. And they stumble upon the house of an old woman. And this old woman is saying, no, I have no vacancy. I have no room. Stay away. And they kind of force their way over the fence and no, we need your house. We need shelter. We need to sleep. And she finally gives in and says, okay, I'll let you sleep here. However, you're splitting up. One can sleep in the barn. One can sleep under the hay. One can sleep here. And of course, they all go their separate ways. They say, okay, anything for shelter. Like, we don't need to sleep near each other. And at night, this woman makes a pass at one of our characters, and she makes a pass at him, and she's trying to get him to come on to her. And of course, he's like, no, I'm not interested. And she decides to take him for a flight around the village. And I thought, while this does not age the greatest, the effect, I thought this just was visually stunning at the same time. I loved the blue as they're flying around and she's carrying him on and he's screaming, help, no, let me down. By the time he does get let down, he takes a stick and his hands and he starts beating the hell out of her, beating her to death until she says, stop, I'm innocent. And all of a sudden, the woman he's beating on, she turns into this beautiful woman. A beautiful woman, and I want to get the actress's name here right because she was just great. Natalia Varley turns into this young witch who is just stunning, and it goes to show you that screen presence and beauty in horror, I mean, they're so key, they're so vital. Her and her expressions make V 100 times better than it would have been without her. It's so crucial and vital that she was in this role, in this part, as this woman who's now begging for her life. Stop, sir, I didn't do anything. And he, in a frantic state, like, whoa, what happened? What did I do? And of course, she goes to her village. Her father's there, and he says, listen, she's on her deathbed. She may not make it, and there'll be hell to pay if she doesn't for you. And he's like, listen, I don't know what happened. I thought it was an old woman. He tries to plead, tell him the story. then he's like, I'm not believing this. I'm not believing this for 2 seconds. If she dies, there's going to be hell to pay. And of course, she does pass away. And the whole idea is they say to him, hey, for the next 3 nights, you have to go in this kind of tiny little coffin / church area, and you have to speak the gospel and say prayers to forgive yourself for what has happened, what you have done. And we watch this man over 3 nights as he goes down and spends the night in this little like mausoleum-esque area and starts to say these spells. And every night, this witch comes back to life and just does all these crazy things in the room. From a visual standpoint, this is a great picture. I love the colors, a lot of greens, a lot of purples and blues and secondaries. I love the actress, her facial expression, her performance, just smiling and smirking and trying to get to him. There's a great scene where he draws a big circle around himself to try to veer her away. And she does this great physical acting as she's trying to bang in like a mime almost. She's trying to bang down the barrier between them, the invisible barrier. I was like, this is fucking fantastic. She's flying around in the coffin as if it was a surfboard, flying, doing circles around the room. And the directors, they like to do these 360 shots to try to make you feel like you're spinning alongside the room with it. And all the nights are good, and all the build to this is good. It is a slow burn, but I think this is a slow burn that's done perfectly right, because I think what gets lost in here when we discuss this picture, and something that I want to discuss with you guys tonight, is the human element of horror in this movie. What do I mean by that? Of course, we have our lead, right? We see his point of view. We see his perspective. He was just a guy looking for a place to sleep for the night. And all of a sudden, this witch literally turns his world upside down by veering off into the sky with him. And then when they land, he does the logical thing. Oh my God, kill the witch. But all of a sudden, it's this beautiful woman. All of a sudden, I'm a murderer. All of a sudden, my life has changed forever. I went from a student just trying to find his way home, just trying to get a good night's Z's. And instead, now I'm whirlwind into this whole situation where if I don't go here in this monastery and I don't say all these prayers at night, what's going to happen to me? And we watch him slowly but surely, again, I think, succumb to the horrors of guilt. And I think that's the beauty of this movie. It's all about the horrors of guilt within. I did something wrong. I did something unspeakable, like murdered a young, innocent woman, at least what appears to be to him. I did these horrible things. And we watch this guy as each night the anticipation and the dread builds within himself. He is afraid of what he has become and thus tries to drink his sorrows away. There's one night where he goes and he's completely hammered and he draws the circle all drunk and he's like, come on, do your worst. He's losing his mind. And I think there's a great bit of human horror in that. We're only human at the end of the day. This is something I was saying at the beginning of the episode. We are only human, right? And there's only so much that we can prevent. And of course, the horrors of guilt of killing someone that you at first thought was guilty, but then may have ended up being innocent. Oh my God, that'll eat you alive. And that's what I think is the beauty of V, is once he goes down there, we as the viewer, yeah, we see what's going on, but he doesn't know in his head, is this real? Or is this something that I'm seeing? Is this something I'm making up? Is this reality, or is this the true nightmare of the guilt that I am living with right now? And I love that storytelling. And the lead actor, again, I'm sorry with the Russian names. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to pronounce these right, so I do apologize. Please excuse my ignorance if I am wrong in the pronunciation of this. Leonid Kuravilov. He does a fantastic job as the lead, again, mostly selling with expression and selling with his eyes a lot when of course the witch is doing all the sorcery in the room as he's looking around, and we get these great shots of him just doing like like, please bless me, like, please, I don't want this shit to hit the fan any more than it has. And we build up to the third and final night, where of course all hell breaks loose in the best of goddamn ways, right? The guilt hits the fan. The witch is out of her coffin. And of course, he has to be taken out of his voluptuous, invisible circle of protection. And she starts to summon all of these vampires, werewolves, creatures of the night. And I love the sequence when she starts to summon them like this, and she goes like this, and she goes, summon all vampires, werewolves, creatures, and all of these things start happening. We see creatures start crawling down from the ceiling. We see them coming out of doors. We see them, they look like chandeliers in the corner, and then all of a sudden they've come to life. We see giant hands reaching for our protagonist, and it's all done via shadow. It's all done in camera. I mean, it's holy shit, the ambition there. And to consider that they had no fucking money. I mean, really no, but they didn't have two fucking nickels to rub together. The ambition there for a person like me, for a fan like me that has made a short that would love to go make as many shorts as I can in my lifetime. I was so inspired by this. Like, this is something that just is so fucking inspiring. I loved every single minute of this. I thought it was just so breathtaking as we see this payoff and this crescendo of all of this craziness. I mean, I just love that, man. I really do. I think that stuff is just all so good as this guy is, no, please, no. He's breaking down until she summons V, right? All of these demons are surrounding him, all of his fears, all of his, I think, feelings of guilt. I think that's a big theme here. Of course, the biggest is V, and V gets summoned and comes out as this giant, like, he looks like a mini elephant guy, and lift my eyelashes. His eyelids get lifted, and you see it's these big eyes, and they, of course, just bull rush this guy to finish him off. And we see the beautiful, voluptuous Natalia. She turns back into what she always was. She turns back into a witch. She goes back into the coffin, and then people find the aftermath. And then, of course, his story becomes legend. Was he just drunk? Was he seeing things? Did all this really happen? What's going on here? We have these villagers that are talking about it when they're on the job. What happened to this fucking guy? And it's entirely up to do. I think that's the beauty of this movie. It's so out there. It's so wild. But I love the ambition. I love the colors. I think, like I say, Natalia has just such a beautiful screen presence. I thought she was just so perfect in that role. You see at points some interesting special effects of, she has this tear. It turns like purple bluish and just dissipates into her face. Like, everything here just really wows you. I think this is a great example of one of the first ever folk horror movies, right? Because, of course, the movie that's always credited for giving folk horror its start is a movie called The Witchfinder General. And that's a movie I did review on the first folk horror special. But V did predate it by a year. And I do see a lot of influence in movies that were come years down the road that would take from something like V. I mean, I think the influence here, it's just so on the nose. It's so blatant that filmmakers would watch this and go, I want to do something like that. Because again, for the little money they did, it shows you how much ambition and how much imagination can carry you. It can carry you all the way to a movie that becomes a cult classic in V. And that's why I really love this movie. And I think that, I know that Severin has put this out on Blu-ray. This is one that everyone should get at some point. It's so worth your time. It is a short picture. If you're willing, like, oh, I don't know about this, 75 minutes before the credits. 75-minute movie. You're in, you're out. It's quick as hell. I think it's worth every single one of those 75 minutes. I love the pacing. I love the slow burn that builds off into the methodical third and final night where V is summoned and all hell breaks loose and all the colors go wild and the camera as well. This is a movie why I love the genre. I love V. I think V is something that everyone should see. And I also will say this one last point, but again, before I get to comments. It's not like the Universal horror movies or pictures like that. It's not. It's much more ambitious visually to me. However, I think it has that feel. It does feel like something that Universal may have produced in the 40s or the 50s. It has that feel to it, if that makes any sense to anyone else. Maybe I'm the only one that sees that, but I totally get that Universal monster sense. And I don't know, man, this is one that I just think the world of. And it's funny, they've tried to remake this several times. They've done stage plays of this. They've done 3-hour epics of this. It's never worked like it worked here. It never worked like it worked with no money, with all these up-and-coming Russian filmmakers that, listen, the sad thing about this is, if there's anything sad to be taken away from V, is that none of these directors really went on to do very much. A lot of them just retired. A lot of them probably went on to just work regular jobs like you and me. And when I see something like this and the fact that these guys didn't go on to make it big, that's just the most disheartening thing ever to me, because man, they had something here. They really, really had something here. They worked great as a team, and I don't know. This is a movie that I always just beloved. I thought this was a damn good movie. V is badass. I definitely really, really enjoy this one. So let's get back to comments. Let's see where we were. I think we were here. The CWO is the only way to go, brother. Sean is in the house. Hey, good evening, y'all. Good evening, Sean. Hope all is well with you. People saying hi to one another in the chat. The beginning is wacky. Feels like the start of a farmer's daughter's joke, but once they get to the hut with the coffin in it, it becomes a creative, fun scare fest. Yeah, I agree. It really, I mean, speaking of Universal, this would be a great Universal Horror Night attraction. I don't know. They would never do this. And I don't even know. I wouldn't think it'd be terribly hard to get the rights to this. I mean, Severin got the publishing rights to release a Blu-ray. So I don't think it would be terribly, and for fucking Universal, I mean, yeah, they could afford it. I don't know if they'd ever go somewhere like this. Obviously, it is very Russian. It is very, it's definitely of that era, of that time. But I don't know, man. To me, this is just all around just a spectacle, like really, really incredible stuff. And I just do find it rather funny that once they had money and known actors behind it, when they try to remake it, 30 years later, 40 years later, it just didn't work. It's just not, you don't have that same lightning in a bottle. Sometimes you can only capture it that one time. And this was that one time. Devil's Bat sounds awesome. I'll have to check that out. V is really cool. Yeah, I don't know why I always want to say Vi, but it's V. I'm sorry. But yes, Devil's Bath is definitely fuck. That's that is, I promise you, man, if only watch that when you're in a good mood, because man, otherwise, whew, that is a sad one. V is something you all do not want to miss out on. That one. Absolutely mind-blowing, and it's beautifully nuts. That's a great way to describe it, Sean. Beautifully nuts. Yeah, it is. It's gorgeous. I would like to think this is a movie that Dario saw and went, I got to do that. But obviously, once he had more money, right? I mean, this is a movie that definitely resembles the, I guess, usage of the primary. That Suspiria uses a lot of primaries, whereas this went more secondaries with it, and I think it worked. I think that worked for V. But I don't know. I definitely would like to think there are a lot of filmmakers that saw something like this and went, I gotta do something like that when I get the chance and I get the actual money opportunity. When the demons came flying out, it reminded me of Indiana Jones arcs. Yeah, I didn't think of that, but yeah, no. And there's everything. I mean, there's wild geese that fly out. You're just like, holy shit, man. Like, what is going on right now? And the first time I saw this, I just had a ball. This is a great one to watch midnight, like midnight horror movie. Get yourself some snacks, some good beverages, just sit down, cozy up, and let V take you into this folk horror world. I thought this was just really, really, really good stuff, and something that everyone should see at least once. I can see that. Yeah, for sure. V is the movie that The Vigil wanted to be. Yeah, we've seen several pictures like that wanted to be something like this. I don't know where they go wrong. That's the one thing, Tom, that I could tell you here. I don't know, as a film fan, where movies like that go wrong, because obviously their heart's in the right place. They want to be just like this. And like, listen, I'm a person that, yeah, I see this and I see a ton of inspirational shit. I'm like, man, like, if they can do it, maybe I could. Like, it's the whole, I may never get there, but this is a movie where you watch it and go, that's something to shoot for. That's something that I would like to do someday. I'd like to be that good. And you may never amount to that or even get the opportunity to try, but I think it's nice to always have something to shoot for. And this is, a perfect example of it. The Vigil, yeah, it doesn't work. Even the remake of V itself, it just doesn't. It's like, yeah, we have some known Russian actors now. Let's fucking do this. Let's make it 3 hours long. Let's get some actual money behind this. It didn't work. You're missing something. What were you missing? I don't know if you were missing the heart. I don't know if you were missing the feel. I don't know if you were missing the magic, but it certainly seems like a combination, if not one of those things, for sure. Grande, have you ever heard of the Severin box sets of all the Hauntsby hours? Yes, I have. I never dipped on that set because it was quite expensive. However, I do have several movies from said set, and one of them is right here. I bought this one separately. We'll be discussing this movie here tonight, Eyes of Fire from 1983. And of course, I do have the 3+ hour documentary that Severin put out. I think it's called Bedlands. And I forget the damn name of it, but it's a great documentary. It's really, really long, but really, really worth your time at the same time. They put out some really good stuff. I really enjoyed that documentary. The Tales of the Uncanny documentary, just really good stuff. And if you're a fan of folk horror, that documentary is going to give you every single base of the genre of folk horror. I mean, it is a must own for anyone that is a fan of that genre. It's folk horror movies. Yes, yes. The box set itself had a ton of them, and V was included. V was one of them. I did blind buy with V, but on DVD, and basically got it based on the trailer and had no real knowledge of it. But I was pleasantly surprised by it. Yeah, it is. It's there's something about it, man. It's like it's winking at you while you. It's just something. It has some kind of charm to it that's undeniable. V might be on it. V was, yes, V was on it. Synth is in the house. Hey, Grande and all, good to see you again. Absolutely, Synth, always good to see you, my friend. And also, I will be Living Dead weekend in Rocktober, buddy. I don't know if you're there, but it would be great to meet you when we do get to the LDW, if I could speak. I love Eyes of Fire. Recently watched the extended cut. Forget the alternate title. Blue Skies. Crying Blue Sky is the alternate title. We're going to review that one tonight here, so please stay tuned for that. Severin's a good company. Yeah, I'd agree. I think Severin is a good company. You know, in a world where we live in with Vinegar Syndrome charging $55 for 4Ks of Mac and Me, and Shout Factory having all those issues with the Sleepaway Camp sequels, which I unfortunately, for other people, it sucks. I didn't experience those issues with my discs. However, I heard a lot of people that went through hell and back with that and still are. So that's unfortunate. That sucks. But I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. So Severin to me is definitely it's moving up the list for sure. And I usually do always enjoy the stuff that they do for sure. Getting the funds together. Hope to see you there. Absolutely, man. Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched. You are correct. Great list of folk horror movies. Yeah, it's really as extensive as can be. Like if you're into this show that you're watching right now and you really want to learn more about it, my gosh, that's a great documentary. It really, really is. Now, granted, you need 3 hours, and I think it's almost 3.5 hours. Actually, it's a long watch. But man, like I said, the whole Video Nasty stuff they've put out, and the definitive guide, all that, and the whole Tales of the Uncanny, really good stuff, man. Severin very rarely misses with the documentaries, and this is definitely no exception. And V is discussed in detail on that, so I do highly recommend you guys check that out. But let's get into our next film here. Of course, we started, in Austria. We've jumped over to the Soviet Union and Russia. And now we're going to join our brothers in Ireland. Yes, of course, Ireland will be the site of our next movie here. And this is a movie that came out in 2023. So this is another one that's a newer kid on the block here. I'm talking about All You Need Is Death. And we can, you know what? I'm going to try to do the screen share because the computer seems to be running okay. We're going to try it. So if I freeze, please forgive me. But we're going to try to give a visual here of what we can be looking at. So I'm hoping this works. I think it will. Yes, All You Need Is Death from 2023, and we have the briefest of brief plot synopsis. A young couple who collect rare folk ballads discover the dark side of love when they surreptitiously record and translate an ancient taboo folk song from the deep, forgotten past. Yes, All You Need Is Death. Now, this is a really, really, and the first word that came to mind when this one ended for me was the word wicked. This is a wicked film, and it is really something to watch and be fucking disturbed and offended and X, Y, and Z about. I off the bat will say I recommend this thing. That's not to say that it ain't fucking crazy, though, and it is. It's pretty fucking crazy when you get to the finale of this thing, but on the surface, I liked the opening. I thought that it was a good idea for a feature-length horror movie because it reminded me of one of the all-time underrated episodes of my all-time favorite show, In the Twilight Zone. And it's, of course, the episode Come Wander With Me with, of course, Bing Crosby's son and, of course, Bonnie Beecher, who would go on to marry Wavy Gravy. And that's always an episode of The Zone that no one mentions. It's directed by Richard Donner. Anyone who's a Richard Donner fan should see that episode at some point. Of course, it doesn't get the love that the one that Richard Donner directed with Shatner on the plane, but the story of that one is very similar to the story of this with of course, Come Wander With Me and All You Need Is Death. The story is, of course, in this is this couple who are going around the outskirts of Ireland, and they are kind of mischievously and unbeknowingly to the people that are performing, they are trying to steal folk songs. Their idea is we can steal folk songs and sell them on a black market or to a weird peddler in the street or what have you. There's always going to be a market for these public domain songs, and we have to, rip these off and do variants on them. And that's the whole idea here, where this couple, they're playing, brother and sister at times. They're playing strangers at times. They're trying to kind of trick all of these people to thinking, oh my God, these people don't know each other, or, oh, these people aren't lovers, or partners in crime, which is what they really are. They're the Bonnie and Clyde of the song stealing world, if you will. And I mean, I thought these two actors did great. They had really, really nice chemistry in this. Of course, Simone Collins, who is very, very good looking woman. And of course, also Charlie Mather, who I think he did a really good job as the Alex character. And we watched these two as the first 20, 30 minutes. They're going around town stealing songs. And all these people are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into these songs. And they're like, oh, great job, and stuff like that. And he secretly has a tape recorder under his arm. And they're like, we got another one. Let's try to sell this. And they're just these scumbags that go around town doing this, until they hear the story of this old woman that died, and they're told of her song and how her song is sacred and how it's the most legendary and it will give them the most fortune and all of these things. And so they set out to find this dead woman who really is alive. And it's, of course, now if you're a fan of horror cinema recently, you'll know this woman. Owen Foree is her name in real life. Of course, my fellow horror fans may remember from a piece of shit known as Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. She's the one that played Sally in the Texas Chainsaw 2022, the Netflix one. Horrible movie. She looked more like Mick Garris than fucking Sally, but I digress. I mean, that was some bad shit. Basically, Mick Garris versus Leatherface, the movie. They find her and they want to steal her song. And of course, she smells them a mile off. She's like, I know you two are up to no good. I know what you're here for. She goes, I want the gentleman to step out. And so he steps out. And of course, she sings the song straight up to our female lead character, Simone. She sings this song to her, and of course, her whole world after that, she leaves the house and she gets in the car and she's talking with him, and she's like, I wasn't able to record it, but I'm going to try to remember it. And while it's fresh, let's try to record it together. It's in a different dialect than Irish. It's in some kind of ancient language, this song. And basically what happens is this song is cursed and their lives begin to be cursed because of said song. And man, all hell breaks loose in this motherfucker. Holy shit. By the time you got to the end here, I was like, what am I like? This isn't just out of left field. This is out of left space. I mean, this is crazy where this thing goes. They get in the car together. They're arguing, things like that. They pick up this woman on the side of the road that was in the house with them. And she's like, oh, whatever, we'll figure this out. The male just runs away with this random lady. All of a sudden, this random lady is knocked up, even though she's had her tubes tied, for lack of a better term. I don't know how to politically correctly say that. Sorry. But she can't have kids anymore, or at least the old-fashioned way. But all of a sudden, she's pregnant. All of a sudden, the male love interest, Alex, he's turning into this Nosferatu-esque creature. He's weak and looks like Voldemort almost, sitting in the bed, just whistling away. Our lead is beside herself. She's like, what is going on? Did they run away? She's thinking they're fucking and having a big affair because, of course, this lady's pregnant. And no, none of the above. She gets randomly pregnant with some kind of demon, but we don't know where that demon came from. We know that thing ain't human because she has no place to put it, let's say. And then, of course, what happens is the lady who played fucking Sally in the TCM movie, Mick Garris, we'll call her. Mick Garris fucking gets murdered with a bottle. She gets the bottle stabbed in her face. And then it's a whole, well, who did it? Who done it? What the fuck happened to this woman? And then, of course, we find out that her son is trying to avenge her death. He shows up. He tracks down Simone. He's like, did you kill my mom? Did you steal her song? And she goes, I stole the song, but we didn't kill her, but I know who did. And she's thinking that it's Alex and the other woman because they've turned on her. And then, of course, the whole movie is them trying to find these other two people that are slowly but surely succumbing to the dark horrors of the song. Weird, really weird. I mean, weird with a capital W-E-I-R-D, weird. But, man, fucking crazy in a good way to me. Like, I had a ball with this. I was, like, kind of laughing with it. I was like, this is fucking crazy. Like, at one point, this lady, she does give birth, but it's not in the way you think. It's not a body horror way. It just looks like it fucking dissolves. And then all of a sudden, she's this, like, albino creature. And she's like trying to cut people with scissors. And man, This thing goes off the rails to the point where I was like, what is going on right now? Like, I truly didn't know what the fuck to think. And man, I don't know. For me, this is a really good example again of a movie that starts very normal, starts very point A. And we don't just go to point B to C to D. We just go from point A all the way to the end of the fucking rainbow here. This was crazy. I don't want to spoil absolutely everything for you, but man, this one is absolutely disturbing. And I think, again, the perfect word to describe this is wicked. It's wonderfully wicked. I loved all of this. The actors do a great job. The director here, I think he did a really, really good job with this. I would definitely want to get his name here. Paul Duane, he did a good job. I love the idea of this. I love the setup. Again, very much did feel like that old school Twilight Zone, Come Wander With Me. Not as good, but definitely amongst that vein. Like, I was like, man, if anyone was to ever try to turn that into a movie, that's the movie that I'd want to do. Like, that's the story I'd want to tell with it, something like this. And then, you also get like, feelings of stuff like The Lords of Salem, which is, of course, again, the cursed song that plays on the record. Definitely instances and iotas of other horror movies, but I thought this one was just so original other than that. And I liked the way that it plays its story out because you could never see where it's going. It's just so unpredictable, in my opinion, in a good way. So All You Need Is Death is one that, again, I really like from the independent scene. I mean, and I'll say something controversial here. I'm going to say something very controversial in the eye of the casual horror movie goer, right? And you know me, I'm a diehard. However, this is something that recently happened, and it's a movie I recently saw, and I will review it. I know there's some people that were asking me to review the film, and I will at a time. Weapons came out. I saw somebody even mention it earlier on the show that they loved it, blah, blah, blah. That movie got great reviews. I didn't like it. Long story short, I'm not going to go into 100 different reasons as to why. That, to me, that is a movie that got all the praise, all the love, it's going to make all the money. This is something more so that I think deserves that praise. This is something more so that, granted, it's never going to draw like that. It's never going to be a $200 million movie. It's never going to open an IMAX. It's smaller. However, I appreciate more what it did with the genre than a movie like Weapons would. It's a movie that I think, again, it's in the current school, right? It just came out just 2 years old. To me, this is a direction that I'd much more like to see horror go in. However, I know, and I'm honest enough to admit, that obviously it's I don't know if I'm out of touch per se, but I'm not in the same bubble of what people of the general audience horror movie going wise wants. That's just me. That's like I'm in a different bubble than those people. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I love these movies of yesteryear so much. I don't know if it's because I'm jaded. I don't know. I don't know if it's taste. I don't know if it's tone. I don't know what it is. But this is something that came out just a couple years ago that to me deserves so much more noise than the movie that's actually getting it, or movies that are actually getting it. I'll take The Devil's Bath 4 billion times before I would watch The Substance again. I'll take All You Need Is Death 5 million times before I would watch fucking Weapons again. I guess maybe it's just me. Maybe it's a look in the mirror moment. Look in the mirror, kid. It's just not what you want it to be anymore. It's still, in the independent scene and the scene where it's not going to really draw. But man, the mainstream theatrical stuff, I can't. It's very rare that I'm very much pleased. It just seems like it's so few and far between for me. And this is something that I wish had gotten a big run. Like, who knows? Certain weird horror movies end up becoming big hits. This, I don't think ever would have been one of them. But for me, this is a direction I'd like to see horror go in way more than something like Weapons, which did get a lot of love and praise. And I don't know. It's certainly, it is what it is. But let's get to the comments here. I'm definitely down to hear what you all have to say about this one. The documentary, I don't know if it's on the set. I bought it separately. Like the Eyes of Fire, I bought separately, and that documentary I bought separately. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to your question. I don't even know if that box set's available anymore. Is it still available? If it is, you could just easily look it up. I'm sure whenever Sever does a sale, they'd be like 50% off. They still have them. The Video Nasty Docs are still my favorite documentaries, but mostly the Volume 1. Yeah, Volume 1. Those are the real nasties. Let's be honest. I love that, going through the trailers and getting people like Stephen Thrower and Kim Newman and all these great, great horror minds and critics and writers to discuss this stuff, man. I mean, you could get lost in hours watching that. It's just so good. The poster too, All You Need Is Death, looks like something out of the 70s. Yeah, and that's why I kind of really like this poster. This is a cool poster. I like this. It's old school in a good way. Come Water With Me reference. Fever Dreamland Theater is here. Hey, man, I hope you're recovering well. I know you just had some crazy-ass gallbladder removal, but hey, man, we love you. And the master of the Twilight Zone right there, Fever Dreamland Theater, a.k.a. Anthony, man, welcome. And yes, I love Come Water With Me. That's one of my favorite zones. I don't care what anybody says. If we only had a top 20 episode, that would have made it. Just looked at my All Haunts BR's box at Seawood. Okay, so it is on volume 1. So there you go. You did look and found it there. People saying hi. Along the same lines, Spotify is now doing modern scumbag behavior, repurposing their own artists into new bands / songs using AI with no royalties. See, that's a shame. That's really, and I guess, yeah, like I'm not as much in the music scene. I don't know as much as the music scene. But I definitely think that this is a situation where, yeah, that is a shame if that's really going on. And to tell it in the folk setting, I think was really cool. I liked that change in pace. Hey, now, not to pick on old ladies too much, as an old lady myself, not all of turn into hot milfs and cougars. No, I'm not bashing her for looking like Mick Garris. It's just she does look like Mick Garris. Fuck. I hope you have a great rest of the show. I'm off to watch Peacemaker now. We'll catch the replay. Thank you so much, Brett. I appreciate the support, man. Have a good night, Brett. Absolutely. This sounds like a lot in a good way. I didn't like Weapons either. No, I just didn't either, man. And I will review it. I've told enough people I would. So I'll do a review separately for that because it's time. It's been out. It's only been out a couple weeks still, but I should give it the review and speak my piece for sure because I've had enough people ask me. But I'm in the same boat. I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. It did some things right? I think the acting was good. I'll give it good acting. I think the premise was good. It's about it. I don't know if I could give it anything else. Maybe one or two things more, but not really. You don't like new movies, right? I mean, that's fair. I wouldn't agree completely with that. I mean, this is perfect example. I watched 2 movies this week from 2023 and 2024 respectively, and I really liked them both. The only problem is nobody fucking see these movies. That's the problem. So the whole I don't like new movies that really are getting the big distribution. I think that may be my problem. I think it's, for me, I've always go back to this too. I always harken back to tone. I think tone is absolutely everything for me. Whereas the Weapons movie, and you'll hear when I do review it, I think the tone is just so off. Like, why are we cracking jokes? Why are we going to subplots of cops and fucking drug addicts in the middle of our movie when we're trying to tell a compelling story about a father losing his son and a woman losing her mind slowly but surely and trying to figure out what happened to these kids? We could have told such a better fucking story there. But no, instead we watch a fucking gay couple shop in the store and they're buying Fruity Pebbles and they're eating hot dogs and they're eating dick-shaped foods because aren't we fucking funny? I don't like the humor these motherfuckers force into their movies. It takes me out of the fucking movie. It's like I'm trying to watch a horror film, I'm trying to be horrified, I'm trying to be entertained in some way, shape, or form. And like what they do, man, I don't get it. I don't understand why boggle it down. And you're not entirely wrong, though, at the same time. Like, yeah, there's a lot of these new movies I just don't really end up liking. Like, I be honest with you, Until Dawn was generic. I would rather watch that than fucking waste my time. 2 hours of fucking Weapons or 2.5 hours of The Substance, just overly pretentious. Like, oh my God, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what my problem is, but for sure, I really enjoyed The Substance. Yeah, you're not alone. It was batshit crazy. See, I thought this was better in a batshit crazy realm, in a batshit crazy curtain. I was like, this is way better batshit crazy. Because again, it was telling the story of this woman doesn't want to let him go. Like you're turning into this creature. She's still like, come on, come with me. He's like, don't you see we're done? Like, we're cursed. Like, what are you doing? And she's like, we're getting out of here. And there's no, like, they're doomed, but she can't accept it. It's the denial of accepting their fate. She can't get past it. I don't know. I thought that was really good. I have Kim Newman's old Nightmare movie. Dude, Kim Newman, that guy, I especially love Stephen Thrower. I think Stephen Thrower, man, I think Stephen Thrower is just one of the all-time great horror minds. I just really like the way he looks at pictures, and he's a big historian, and he does an interview really good that's on this too, the Eyes of Fire, Really good stuff, man. The Owen lady seems to be the go-to actress for weird, just okay Irish movies like Watchers. Yeah, Watchers. She's in Watchers too, which was M. Night Shyamalan's daughter's film, which I have not seen that, but yeah, she's in there too. I think we like different genres of older movies, but I'd much rather watch an old movie that's new to me or old movie I grew up on. Not saying I won't watch movies, but they usually leave me mad. Yeah, I have that problem too. No worries. I'm sorry. I just get into this, man. I don't mean to, you didn't trigger me. No worries. That's the passion I guess I have. I don't know. It's a not a bad point though, man. I totally maybe am in that ballpark. I don't want to be. I really don't. I want to be accepting and open to all this stuff. And like, I think I am for the most part, but it's just, I guess maybe a different tolerance level, or maybe it's just, like I said, the whole tone thing. It may just be where I draw the line, but everybody's different strokes for different folks. And I'll quote the great Darren Burroughs, like the world would be boring if we all just agreed unanimously on everything. Like sometimes it's fun to debate and talk about it and stuff like this, or put over little known gems like this and say, hey, it's better than this movie that made $200 million and turn all these heads. I don't know. Just like with new music, new movies need to be more than derivative and having too much ad editing to get my attention. Otherwise, I'll just enjoy the oldies. Yeah, I'm one of those too. I love the oldies. I love the old school. That's just me. It's more what my cup of tea is. But when I do see newer movies, I will often notice this. I feel like I generally put over ones that get hated. Like I stop motion that's to me exactly where the horror genre should be. That should be your 200, $300 million movie. It got dropped to Shudder. It wasn't good enough for a main. It got dropped to Shudder. That's the fucking fate of that movie. I would bang my head against the wall until I couldn't stop. It got released, in 6 theaters? I couldn't even go see it in New York City. That's how briefly of a run that it had. It's just, I think that what I want is there. It's just in such a small capacity now. Whereas the movies that are getting these giant runs, it's like generally I'm just like, what do you people see that I don't? That's kind of usually the question I leave asking myself. Hey, Ryan Haley, can't remember. I said, hi, you. Okay. Grani, speaking of writers/critics, were you a Chas Balin fan? R.I.P. Oh, okay. Yeah, no. I heard about it. I honestly am not too familiar, so I can't really say. I saw the few people post like RIP, so RIP for sure. I just am not as familiar, so I do apologize for that. I totally agree with you, everything you say, Grani. Just kidding. Cooper's trying to be about that boring world. Grani, do you know Joe Bob Briggs' last drive-in show on Shudder? It's really good. Yes, I do, and I really like Joe Bob. I've actually talked to Joe Bob. Joe Bob's awesome. But yeah, no, I certainly do know of his show. I'm not saying that everything is dropped to Shudder is bad. It's just oh gosh, it's just frustrating. It's like, man, like I wish that some other shit would get recognition. But All You Need Is Death, I recommend it. It's weird. It's out there. It's crazy. I'm sure a lot of people won't like it, but man, for me, I don't know. I really enjoyed that one for me. But let's get to the final movie of the evening here, of course, as we dive into the era that was. We're talking about old school movies and the oldies, right? We dive into a movie that is just over 40 years old. It came out in the year 1983. I'm talking about this movie right here, Eyes of Fire. Yes, Eyes of Fire. Brief plot synopsis. A preacher is accused of adultery, and he and his followers are chased out of town. They become stranded in an isolated forest, which is haunted by the spirits of French colonists controlled by evil. Yes. Wow. This is another one where, man, I think this is another banger. I really, really enjoyed this movie a lot. And of course, this was directed and written by Avery, I want to get his name right here, Croncy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that 100% right. And this is, of course, our American picture of the evening. So we've worked all the way, across the world and back to the US of A here as we record this. So Eyes of Fire, this is a really interesting movie where, of course, the director was, of course, this guy who was born and raised in Kentucky. He was born and raised in Kentucky, really cool. And he went over to Missouri and he had this great idea to make this folk horror movie. And of course, he goes over to, I think, Kansas City, parts of that, and then of course the wilderness in Missouri itself to shoot this movie called Eyes of Fire. And it tells the story of these people that the movie opens and they're kind of being interrogated by these French colonists. And he's saying, start from the beginning, tell me everything. And the entire movie that we watch is basically a flashback of her telling the story of how we got to this point in the beginning. And I like how it's done. I think it's really good that the over narration is really, really well done in this film. And we watch as these people are in this village and all seems well when the movie starts. And then, of course, they are beginning to sort of go crazy. One of the guys is the lead character in this, Will Smythe, is played by Dennis Lipscomb. He is really bastardly in this, is this just awful, malicious witchcraft / warlock type guy who is accused of having sexual relations with one of the women in this family. And of course, he's also having sex with the mother. And they accuse him of having sex with an underage child. Hey, did you fucking do it? We need to hang him. They get him to this barn and they're like, we're going to hang you. We're going to sentence you to death. And he gets up there. And of course, one of the girls that he's accused of having an affair with, she's saying all these spells and these words, and the rope just snaps. It poops. And of course, they are banished from the village and they get on their boat and they kind of go across the way. And of course, while this is happening, the wife character, she's having an affair with the guy who has been sentenced to hang. And you get the idea that she may be under his spell. And of course, the husband finds out about this and he goes looking for them, finds them. And then, of course, the whole idea is, well, we're banned. Where do we go? And we see this tree that's covered in feathers and markings and things like that. And they, of course, have been marked by the French colonists because you never want to go over there, because the Native Americans know they should never go over there either, because this is marked haunted territory. These are grounds that are haunted by evil spirits. And of course, the dad's, I don't give a shit. We need to go somewhere. So they head over that way. And basically, slowly but surely, we see some crazy ass shit. And I love this movie. This is, again, another movie where it may not make the most sense in the world. It may not be this perfectly cohesive film, but what you see is truly horrifying as this movie plays out. And I love what the director was able to do here too, where all of the special makeup effects, all the special effects are done in camera. And I really appreciate that, because we watch this guy as, they all go into this forest and they find this little girl that's with them. And then all of a sudden, slowly, they're all kind of just seeing wild shit. One lady is using a hoe in the garden, and she's using this hoe. And all of a sudden she just see this giant face, and she goes down and this giant blood squib. And she's like, what the fuck? And she kind of throws up her arms like this. They all kind of rush over and they don't see anything. There's the guy he's out for a walk in the woods, and he sees all of these women that are standing there, and they're slowly appearing and not appearing before his eyes, and he's rubbing his eyes trying to figure it out. There are the eyes of the trees and the faces in the trees, like that are on this poster art here, where we'll see these eyes open and close on the trees themselves, where someone goes to take a lay down on the tree and we see the eyes kind of open looking at them. Really good, really simple, but I liked how all the special makeup effects were done here, and the visual effects. To do them all in camera is so inspiring and so ballsy from the director. But I guess that's what you had to do, right? You didn't have the money to add this shit in post. It's not the era of CGI land where we could just add it in later. I thought what they did was so smart here, where they're adding all the effects on camera. Everything you see is actually there. And I liked how that was all portrayed in the picture. I thought that was really, really well done. The acting here, really good, top notch. I like you watch this family argue, and their sanity is going all over the place. And of course, William Smith, he's the one that's really kind of pulling all the strings here. I would be lying to you if I told you I knew all of the sense that this makes. I don't really understand the entire movie as a whole. I think it's a movie that I don't even know if you want to know exactly what's going on. It's just fun to watch the insanity ensue and play out. Sometimes your horror needs to be fast, loud, and out of control. And that's really what Eyes of Fire is. Of course, in this folk setting, in this folk world, I love the pictures that it's able to create, and the whole disturbing imagery that it portrays in your mind. I love the little girl in the picture. She's kind of just shows up and they take her in, and it seems, well, what problems could this girl give us? What could happen here? And she later in the picture turns into this cat creature, this fucking creepy cat creature. Almost looks like circa Chamber of Secrets when Hermione turns into the cat. She turns into this cat and just goes like this and goes towards, dude, that's nightmare fuel. I would run for the hills if that fucking bitch came at me, man. I would be like, oh no, fucking horrifying, truly horrifying. I love that sequence towards the end where she turns into the cat and just kind of looks at him and like, oh my God, that is like, oh shit. Totally run for the hill moment for me. I think, again, too, there are deeper themes here. We are watching a family sort of combust, if you will. And this is something that the theme of this and the idea of this, I know that Mersey mentioned it in the comments, and we'll get to the comments. The Witch is a movie that very much took inspiration from this. That's a movie where the family, we watch them slowly but surely as they break down as the movie goes on. They're banned from their village, and then they're slowly losing their minds and pointing out, you're a witch, you're a witch, you're a witch. This isn't exactly that. This is more so the woods that they're in are haunted by these spirits, thus why we're seeing the things that we're seeing. But of course, it's the ignoring and the dismissal of, oh, this can't be haunted. We'll be fine. We're fine. And then all the things that drew them out of the village, they come up to bite them in the ass. And I don't know. I think this is a really good movie. I know there is a longer cut, like Sean was saying, that's called Crying Blue Sky. I've never watched that longer cut of the movie. It runs about 23 minutes longer. I still think this is a really good movie in and of itself. It's like an hour 26. It's not a long movie either, but I thought it was just really, really well done, really well paced. Again, the direction really good here. Acting is really good. The scope of the whole thing. I loved the locations in Missouri that they used. I don't know. This is another folk horror movie to me that's like desperately needs more love. I know that Severin put this out special edition. I'm very happy that they did. This is a movie, though, I think for years that never even had a DVD. Like the only way you could watch it was a VHS for like 30 years plus until they finally gave this thing the thing that it deserved. And it was interesting to watch the interview with actually Stephen Thrower and the director Avery, that horror at that time was so different from what he was trying to sell. Right. It was the early 1980s. Jason was just getting there. Freddy was just about to come out. Michael Myers had his couple movies at this point. And the year of the slasher was 1981. And Stephen Thrower posed the question to the director. He says, in that era where everything that was being made, everything that was being funded was these slasher movies in the wilderness, he says, I always thought it was so admirable that you decided to go into the wilderness to make a completely different type of folk horror movie instead of a slasher horror movie. And he said that the director felt that is why the movie didn't really draw, and it got a lot of bad reviews at the time from critics. However, again, over time, this one's sort of been reevaluated by the true trolls and horror fans that kind of see the beauty in it. And I think that's the thing of it. There's a lot of beauty in this film as well. It's a gorgeous looking picture, and you do want to watch it in the best quality. So I do recommend this Blu-ray from Severin Films. I don't know. Eyes of Fire is another one that I just think is an absolute slam dunk. You should watch it. Like, totally recommend that one for people that are not familiar, because I think it's very, very solid picture. Let's see where we were. I think so. Joe Bob at the Alamo Draft House, very nice. I grew up reading John Bloom's weekly column and books long before he had any shows. He's a legend. Yes, he is a legend. I think Ryan actually just met him and his assistant too, so that's pretty cool. Joe Bob is a legend. The plot sounds very similar to the classic story, The Scarlet Letter, where instead the main protagonist, Hester Prynne, actually does commit adultery. Well, yeah, she does here too. But I got the feeling, again, it's never said. There's a lot of this movie that's left up to the viewer. Like, you have to decide. You son of a bitch, you have to decide. I have to decide what is going on here. So, like, there's a lot of that in it. I think she was under the spell of this guy, because the way she's making out this guy who's weird looking, he looked like Malachi from Children of the Corn if he was grown up, like just this awkward looking adult, like deeply tongue kissing this woman. Like, I was like, damn. I was like, unless she's possessed, this doesn't make any sense. Like, who the fuck would fucking deeply tongue kiss this guy in the middle, like in front of your family, in front of the village? No goddamn way. She had to be possessed there, but it's never said. It's never ever said. And there are things that are said that I do really like when it's coming to psychology of this picture. There's a great scene, probably my favorite scene in the movie, where the dad is sitting around the campfire with the kids, and he's roasting a rabbit. He's making this rabbit for their dinner, for their survival. And he says, I'm just a man, and I'm killing this innocent animal right now so I could provide food for me, for my family, and that's what animals do too. And he starts to list off animals that prey on other animals, right? Bears need the fishes, and fishes need the smaller fishes, and I think he says something like owls need snakes. It's like all these random animals that he's listing off that one is prey to the ultimate predator that gets them. I love that sequence. And he says, listen, I know it's not moral to kill. I know it's not right that I took this rabbit's life. However, to provide for my family, I will be forgiven. I love that. I think that is a really, really good scene. And it's going to show you that how they lived at those times. And still to this day, right? I mean, I'm no stranger. I love me a good steak. I love me a good burger, chicken, pork chops, whatever. I love food that comes from actually sadly assaulting animals, killing them. But I mean, it's not a bad point for him to say, yeah, everything needs everything. Like everything kind of needs the other. One hand washes the other. I love that sequence. I thought that was really good writing. What is up, my graveyard family? Emergencies, movie, mansions in the house. What's going on? Triple M. Hope all is well with you. People talking to one another. I've seen this flick grande, and it is quite decent. I also am a big fan of Blood on Satan's Claw and The Witch. Love both those movies. Blood on Satan's Claw I reviewed in the first episode of Folk Horror Special. I love Blood on Satan. That's my favorite of those three. Like I would say Blood on Satan's Claw, Wicker Man, and then Witchfinder General. But all three of those are really, really good folk horror movies as well. Blood on Satan's Claw is a classic. I agree, Ryan. I love Blood on Satan's Claw. Like I think that is just a really, really good depiction of folk horror. I love the Angel Blake and the whole idea of that sacrifice with the kids, and holy shit, man, that is horrifying. And the more I read into that movie, the more I did not know really where that was originally going to be an anthology movie, and they changed their minds at the last second. And a lot of people that were in the know and making the film felt that it was a failure because of this. I think Blood on Satan's Claw is a fucking gem. Like anytime I watch that movie, it's just instantly like you're in that world. And I love, like I said, the Angel Blake character. I know Wesley, I Am the Ice Lord, he's a big fan of her, but she's so good in that of playing the whole I'm beautiful, but I'm no good. I'm bad news. Really good stuff, man. I like that movie a lot. That's a good Blu-ray too. A really, really good slip Blu-ray I have. Wrote some of the great stuff like Deep Red, Horror Handbook, Horror Holocaust, and Lucio Fulci Behind the Gates. Really? I didn't know that. Okay, very interesting. I'll have to read up on that because I did hear, I saw quite a few people post it. Love The Witch, absolutely love it as well. Love The Witch. Everyone's saying they love The Witch. Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I love The Witch as well. I think The Witch is a really, really good folk horror movie from the modern day. Really good one. That cover kicks ass. I agree. That's a horror poster, man. That's how you fucking do it. That's just that's the good stuff, man. Oh God, the raps have returned. Didn't like Eyes, a bit too abstract, slow, and reminded me of what I didn't like about The Witch. Okay, that makes right. If you don't like The Witch, I could totally see you not liking this because they are in this similar vein. Although I think The Witch is much more focused and it makes sense. Whereas this is, I've seen the movie 3 times now. I can't tell you what the fuck's going on. I really can't. I think that's the charm of it. It is very fucking weird and wild and fucking all over the place, but I thought in a good way because I thought the stuff that you see visually was stuff of nightmares. It was haunting. It was, I don't know. I liked that stuff personally. I could see not liking this though, for sure. It really is a kind of confusing, nonsensical film at times. Mern says, Grande, would you be insulted if I told you I prefer the Nick Cage Wicker Man over the OG? I would never be insulted, Merns. You are always entitled to your opinion. However, comma, I would say I disagree with that a lot. I would a lot, but buys the bees, buys. That's always really funny. That's the Wicker Man remake is so bad it's kind of funny in a way. And I'll tell you this, I'll take the Wicker Man remake Nicolas Cage over that fucking Midsommar movie. All fucking day I would rewatch that over that, man. Holy shit. But the original Wicker Man, I think, is great. I truly think that's a great movie. It's all about the horrors of culture and the horrors of abstinence, really, in a way, right? For our lead character being a virgin and he's trying to fight the urges to have sex with Willow. To me, the Wicker Man is like just such a fucking great movie. But The remake, yeah, I'll say this too. I'll give you this too. The Wicker Man remake is better than The Wicker Tree. And if you've seen The Wicker Tree, I'm sorry. If you haven't, don't fucking watch The Wicker Tree. I warned you. I warned you right here at 9:36 p.m. only on The Graveyard. Ryan Hanley, The Rage of the Cage. Yeah, no, The Rage of the Cage, man. Mearns is the biggest Nick Cage fan I know. And it was so funny. I'll never forget me and Mateo were talking about it because me and Mateo are not big Nick Cage fans. And he's like, does Mearnsy know? And I was like, I don't have the heart to tell Mearnsy. Like, it was such a funny interaction me and Mateo had about that. Can't stay in Cage's Wicker Man. Yeah, it's not good. But it's entertainingly fucking bad. So I would rather you be that than like checking my watch every 5 minutes. It's a different kind of bad. Midsummer is bullshit to me. Hell yeah, I agree with you. That's bullshit, horrible movie. I agree. But a lot of people like it, so we're not going to rain on their parade. And I have, I think one of the overrated, underrated shows talked about that movie. Not a fan. Cage's Coppola's nephew. That's right. And of course, the daughter, Sofia Coppola. And I think also isn't what's her name from Rocky is related. Talia Shire is related to Francis Ford Coppola. Oh my God, someone has seen The Wicker Tree. Oh no, The Wicker Tree was terrible. Insult to the original and lame Christopher Lee. Dude, I agree wholeheartedly. We were in New Jersey and Mearns was with me. We were in the store with Mearns. We were video shopping and we're going up and down the aisles and things like that. And all of a sudden, I see it at the bottom right corner for $3.99. I saw The Wicker Tree, and I picked it up, and I was like, "Has anyone?" I'm in this video store. I'm like, "Has anyone seen this piece of shit?" And of course, everyone was like, "No, Grande, we haven't seen this piece of shit." Like, of course, my overselling, and then people coming around me calmly being like, "No, no, we haven't." So, Tom, I'm sorry you've seen The Wicker Tree, but I am happy that I'm not alone in feeling the pain and seeing the terrible shit known as The Wicker Tree. I'll coddle my Midsummer director's cut. You'll coddle it. Isn't it? How much longer is it? Isn't it like 27 minutes or something longer? Which I'm like, bro, how? Like, what are y'all gonna talk about? That thesis paper? It's my fucking thing. No, fuck you, man. My thesis. Let's take some mushrooms. Let's jump off cliff like a bunch of old people and fucking beat each other in the heads with sledgehammers. Oh my God, that movie. Talia Shire is. Oh, is it his sister? I didn't know that. I thought they were like cousins or something. I did not know it was his sister. Great show tonight, only on The Graveyard. Yeah, only on The Graveyard. Yeah, absolutely, man. This was a lot of fun. Next week, just a brief preview, of course, as I do recommend Eyes of Fire. Next week on the show, we were going to be having our good buddy Phantom Analogs, a.k.a. Jeff from the Cabin of Dr. Howdy's podcast. I'm very excited to have Jeff on. We've had Jeff on once or twice before, but never solo. So I'm very excited to have Jeff on and discuss, of course, the films of Jean Rollin. We're doing a director spotlight where I picked one, he picked one, and you, the fans, voted on one. The movie that you guys voted on was Living Dead Girl from 1982, one of my favorites. I voted on the Demoniacs, and then, of course, he did what the fuck did he pick? The Grapes of Death, I believe. So very excited to discuss those with him. He has an insane collection of Jean Rollin stuff, insane amount of magazines, stuff like that. So yeah, we'll be discussing all things Jean Rollin next week. I'm very excited to discuss those and celebrate his filmography with you guys. Love Rollin, stoked for next week. Absolutely, John. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, I appreciate you being here this week and every other week, really. 27 minutes longer. I like the theatrical, but I can't see how they add. I believe that's right. If someone wants to correct me, I'm not 100% sure, but I know it's in the 20 plus minutes longer. I think it's just about 3 hours with the other cut. And I think the movie's like 2.5 hours without it. So it's about 3 hour movie when you add the other time in, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure, but brief, just ranking these really quick. So what do we do? Devil's Bath first. Devil's Bath's like a strong, like 8.5 for me. V is a 9. All You Need Is Death is like a 7.5, I would say. And then Eyes of Fire is, again, another 7.5, right in that ballpark. So I do really recommend all of these movies if you have not seen them. I think V you could watch on Tubi. The rest of them, I'm not entirely sure where you'd watch them. Eyes of Fire, I do recommend picking up the Blu-ray, as I do with all these movies if you want to do physical media with them. But yes, very excited for Jean Rollin next week. It was a lot of fun here tonight talking all things, of course, folk horror with y'all. Thank you for sticking with me at the beginning when we had our little bit of a delay, but I had a lot of fun as always, on Grinding Graveyard. So, everybody, thank you so much for a wonderful show here tonight, and we will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. Two Sweet Peas, get your folk horror on, and have a safe, happy, healthy weekend. Good night, everybody. Cheers.